would you like to speak tonight?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh?
Here.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Here.
Commissioner Gerda?
Here. At this time, since I've asked the only person in the gallery if she would like to speak on anything tonight, and for reply being no, I can skip the public input of the meeting tonight. Excuse me. Item number 5 on the agenda, consideration of the approval of the meeting minutes dated June 13th of 2018. If there are no changes or concerns from commissioners, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Sabota on the motion. Do I have a second?
Second. It's all right.
Gerda on the second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerda?
Yes.
Motion
Excellent.
carried.
Thank you. This time I looked up open file Z933. The applicant is Joseph Quinn, 9404 Nicholas Lane in Spring Grove, Illinois. The requested action is a conditional use permit to allow an assembly use educational facility, a STEAM-based program for children to learn by doing with a small retail component. The location of the subject property is 1112 North Green Street here in McHenry. I do have the publication notice from the Northwest Herald, the return receipts from the certified mail, and Dorothy is in possession of the sworn affidavit as well. And at this time, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Joseph Quinn, 9404 Nicholas Lane, Spring Grove, Illinois, 60081.
Excellent, thank you so much. Tell us why you're here tonight.
Here looking to get an approval for special use for our business. Our business is called Snapology, and Snapology is a STEAM-based education institution, and we teach kids science, technology, engineering, arts, and math using unique methods. And so we're most known for our Legos and Connects programs that teach kids robotics or art, engineering, mathematics. But we utilize other methods too, such as laptops for computer coding or video game design. We use tablets to do robotics, and we have anything from simple We Do robotics on the Lego side to the advanced EV3 robots that you see First Lego League uses too. And then we can use household items to help make slime and other types of things, and we teach the kids the viscosity and how slime becomes what it is and the chemical reactions and things of that nature. We do this by holding summer camps during the summer. During the school year, we'll have after-school programs either at the center or at the schools. We'll do birthday parties. We also have field trips where we have people come to our location. And then special events throughout the year, such as Drop and Dine, where parents can bring the kids to a 2-hour or 3-hour camp, and they can go and dine or go out to a movie, and then they would come back and pick up their children. But that is the basis of our business, and we're very excited to do that here at McHenry.
Excellent, great, thank you so much. Staff, please give us your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to repeat anything Mr. Quinn said. I probably will. This is a STEAM-based business. As you know, District 15 is a STEAM-based program that they teach the kids, and when you get into high school, you go into a STEM-based program, just STEAM without the art. This is a franchise-based business that Mr. Quinn is proposing, and they are the franchisees for this area. The request before you is a conditional use for an assembly use. It's basically a school, same kind of concept as a school, due to the number of children and adults in the unit at any one time. For zoning purposes, if that exceeds 25, an assembly use, which can be educational, philanthropic, or cultural. That kicks in the conditional use. We look at things like parking, adverse land use impacts. All building codes would be met. The building inspectors have already done a couple of walkthroughs of the unit. This is in the River Place Luxury Residences building, which has a diverse use base, and I think this will only add to that. I already indicated that. I don't believe there'll be any adverse land use impacts from this use. Most of the clientele are children. They won't be open late at night, and they'll be closing early evening hours. So I don't have any concerns with this use, and I believe it will add to the diversity of the use mix in River Place as well as the downtown area. And staff would recommend approval of the conditional use to allow the assembly use, the educational facility to locate at 1112 North Green Street, and staff finds the requirements of Table 31 of the zoning ordinance have been satisfied.
Excellent, thank you, Doug. Questions, concerns from commissioners? Commissioner Sabota?
I have no questions.
Excellent. Commissioner Walsh?
No, sir.
Commissioner Gerda?
Excuse me, no questions.
Excellent. Again, looking to the gallery for the public input of this meeting. I will open and close the public input. Turn it back over to any additional questions or concerns from commissioners. Seeing as it's been a great deal of time, I can't imagine anybody has anything. I don't see any hands up at this time. I'd be looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow an assembly use at the location of 11112 North Green Street, finding that all the tables of, all the requirements of Table 31 have been met.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Sabota, do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Walsh on a second. Additional questions or concerns? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gerda?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Yes.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Doug, will be in touch.
All right, sounds good.
At this time, I'd like to close file Z933.
Safe travels back.
Thank you.
Have fun.
When's the village meeting?
A couple of weeks. I'll let you know the exact date when it goes to council.
Okay.
I can't remember the date in my mind, but I'll give you an email.
It'll be after August 1st?
Yes, yes.
Perfect, I'll be back then.
And I'm gonna make you drive back down.
All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
Take care.
At this time, I would like to turn the conversation on item number 7 on the agenda over to staff to the continuation of the discussion of the city's comp land use plan and development policies focusing on the existing land use and future land use maps.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna deviate and just do the ordinances that I'm gonna do everything that I did real quick, but I'm just gonna start with the ordinances, if you don't mind. So I wrote 2 draft ordinances. The first is an A1 agriculture district. These would be, eventually become part of the zoning ordinance, and they would relate directly to the land use category on the future land use map, but be the regulatory tool that would enforce that. So one is the agricultural district, and this was basically from the McHenry County zoning ordinance, and this is the A1 district, and so it's permitted uses, conditional uses, and then bulk and setback regulations. You can see that as you look at it. I took some of the uses out that were kind of, I just didn't think belonged. And then what I did with the bulk and setback regulations is I kind of used up to 2 acres, 2 to 3 acres, and 3 to 5 acres for the building height and the building width, and the maximum building coverage. So if you have a bigger area, you'd be more allowed to do bigger things and you'd be required to have a wider lot, that type of thing. So the second ordinance is a draft ordinance. It's called a mixed-use zoning district. So, Art, I think prior to you coming on the Planning and Zoning Commission, we discussed a mixed-use land use category, and that's basically just more than one use on a property, like residential, commercial, that type of thing. Could be residential below, commercial on top. We talked about that on Macomb Lake Road. So this would be the regulatory tool for that, which would eventually be adopted through the zoning ordinance. And this was taken from a model ordinance through the American Planning Association. And it's a little bit different than some zoning ordinances that you might see. It starts out the same permitted uses, conditional uses. But then when you get to the back, it has the bulk and setback regulations, but it has couple things that are unusual. One is like it has a minimum floor to ceiling height. So it's trying to encourage that kind of downtown development kind of feel. And that mixed use kind of feeling, and some of the that's where the transparency comes into play, the door, and on the next page the doors and entrances. So that's why it's kind of written like that. It's kind of trying to, if you have two uses in one building, it's kind of trying to give you that pedestrian feel. So that was that, and then the map. What I did was I had Chad do the 1.5 miles. Last time we had talked about the western part of the city. So I had Chad just go ahead and kind of complete the city and do the southern and the eastern part. Just as a suggestion, I kind of looked at the map. And if you look, and I had the Prairie Grove boundary agreement included in here too, because that's the only boundary agreement that's really impacted. We do not have a boundary agreement with Lakemore. So if you look on South 31, I have a suggestion as far as boundary, as far as we want to go, and you'll see that kind of dotted black and yellow dotted line. That's our FPA, our facilities planning area. That's kind of how far we can serve with water and sewer property. So if you go south on 31, at first I was like, do we really want to go farther south than Gracie Road? It's kind of far south, and we really don't want to go too far east because it gets kind of wet, and it really doesn't really do any good. But then I was kind of thinking about it, and this is just kind of throwing it out there. Do we want to kind of go all the way down to right Edgewood Road, but just hug 31, and just call it all ag, all the way down 31, and not encompass the already developed property on the west side of Edgewood, but just
So staying on the east side only?
well going on the west side where it's vacant, but then on the east side and stopping where you hit the residential. And then what I did, when looking at the east side, looking at Lakemore, was if you go east of Chapel Hill Road, you go past the FPA on the north. I was thinking, well, what if we, that's the Weingart Farm is the yellow area, and then our FPA kind of ends. And I was thinking if we keep going kind of almost to the end of that purple bubble area, but then go north and kind of stop at Lincoln Road. And Lincoln Road kind of is that green line that kind of goes diagonally as a stopping point. And then to the south is kind of, it kind of develops. So I thought of, on the south, just kind of taking in and planting the property immediately east, the southeast corner of Chapel and 120, and then east of that, it's really developed to the end of the 1.5 miles. So I'll just leave it at that and just let, answer any question you may have. I just want to provide you some, food for thought. That's the Finkelstein property.
Right. What would you consider that at this point in time?
You know what, I need your ag. That's what this is. This is IDD, Integrated Design District or AG. This is in the county.
Right.
The Roberts.
His is as well, right?
Yeah,
Finkelstein's property is.
yeah, this is Roberts, this is Finkelstein, they're both in the county, yep.
So my question for you is, if I remember correctly, looking at this area, this run out to that area is going to be south side of 120, sewer and water fed for, the new gas station?
So the sewer's here already, and the water will be extended here.
To the corner?
Yes.
Okay. Does that change this line when we end up here?
No, actually, I did not know, and if this is correct, our FPA, I thought our FPA ended here.
Well, agreed, I kinda did as well.
I don't know if this is a mistake, but if it's truly not a mistake, then we can extend it out to here. If it's a mistake, then we're talking about the southeast corner of Chapel Hill 120.
Right.
I would wanna get this property in the city.
Right, that's what that was my question for you. Because if we're gonna end up with Ricky Rockets having sewer and water out to the chocolate factory, and we can nab that larger piece that's beyond it and kinda earmark that now, at some point in time, that's going to be a development.
Yeah. And
That's
if
a
you,
big piece of property.
yeah, so and if you think going, here, out here, if you think going out here is kinda stretching it,
Well, no, I mean,
that's-
I'm totally okay with that. My concern was, I just wasn't sure about the Ricky Rockets adding sewer and water to that east point and what that would provide to everyone else that's going to be just a touch east of that location. That will allow the building on the corner of, the southwest corner of that intersection, which I believe is owned by the Adams, people, the old Harley dealer.
That's owned by Claude Sunday.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so that property now, doesn't have sewer and water availability to it, but once.
Sewer.
Oh, it does have sewer now,
Yes.
but water will be there soon.
Right.
So that will definitely remarket that corner as well.
Right.
Once that availability is
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Okay, and but that is currently county property as well.
Not Claude Sunday's property. His is in the city.
It is, okay.
Yep.
Got it. And we are talking about the car repair shop was the last use there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Got it.
And if you remember, Prairie Grove had the whole terracotta, wildflower,
Right.
1,000 acre. And if you look at an aerial, you can kind of see roads, sort of.
Yeah. Well, they have the water tower that's in place now. They have that road cut through. They did remove some trees, I believe, through the development. I
Okay.
think it's just a dirt road as an access
Oh,
point
is it a dirt road?
for them to be able to go in and start to survey those lots and figure out what they could do with it. But I believe it's dirt. There's a gravel road out to the water tower.
Okay.
But I think the rest of that interior cut is all just still dirt road.
And I mean, my logic in going down 31, are we gonna annex all that? Maybe not, but it might become a negotiating point if this boundary agreement comes up.
Well, for sure, and I think that's the biggest concern too, is will that development that goes in on the west side of 31, if they were to develop that area, where does that fall? Currently, it's county, right? Or is that in Prairie Grove?
I think it's in Prairie, I think it's in Prairie Grove.
I didn't get one of those, but I got these.
You didn't get one of these?
No, but I got these.
What about the packet that was here?
No, that was the one I brought. I picked my packet up. But I might have
You got
that.
extra one of these?
No, it's fine, I don't need one.
Which one is
Because you're
it?
gonna change it anyway. But I
Which
was
one is
wondering
it?
if those lots were in here, because a lot of this is from none of it.
Maybe it is not in Prairie Grove. I just assumed it was.
This, whatever these drawings were for, conveniently are, thank you, are conveniently part of our conversation. Orchard Lane, Brentwood, some of this area that's off of Green Street that I don't believe is currently ours.
Down here?
Is that here? Yeah, I don't. Let me get a closer look.
I told you to put the streets on, but I think I need a magnifying glass.
So let's see, that's, yeah. So this area down in the corner, this color tells me that this is not, is this in the city?
It's not in
It is
McHenry.
Not in the city of McHenry,
No,
correct?
correct. I think that's county.
No, I know for sure that it is. And I don't know that we want that to be ours.
No, I agree. I agree.
But I wonder if that area we're talking about is here as well. Here's Barrow. Yeah, so this is just south of the shores. And so these lots that are just south of the shores, that's the end of the shores, right?
Yeah, that's like Biscayne Highlands,
Right.
Foxview Highlands.
Right, Foxview Island, so it's this. Is what this is. The rest of these lots, yeah, that's that. You can see that cut right there. So currently, we have this designated as this green, is this,
Yeah, this is State Park Road, so this isn't this, this Stickney
Yeah,
Run.
Stickney Run. Stickney Run's further down. This corner lot's actually, I don't know who owns that, but yeah, so this would be Stickney Run, okay.
Parks and Conservation. Yeah.
Perfect, yeah, that's conservation, okay. Okay, I'm done with those numbers.
So,
So ag south on 31, both sides of the road.
yeah,
Currently.
and not too far east, not too far west.
Right.
East, you've got some development and it just gets wet, and west, you go too far,
We're back into,
you're back into the other area we talked about.
on the west map, when we
Right.
did that, yeah. Agreed, yeah. I think what you have there is what I would say would be ideal and what we've followed suit with our remaining other quadrants that we've already looked at, that follows suit. I don't know that any mixed use would be in that area at all at this point in time, but there are some lots that could be that way along 31, but I don't think any of those would be small enough parcels to be in a mixed use category. Most of those are gonna be larger pieces that are gonna end up in, industrial or something, definitely something larger just because of the sheer size of those lots. Somebody could put a strip mall on 31, I guess there are a couple of outlots left in front of Morgan Hill, just south of Morgan Hill, I mean, there's a
Right.
couple of those, but not many. Probably not mixed use at that point. But I do think the mixed use category does give us an option to do those kinds of things where we haven't had that before.
Yeah,
Especially like in front of Morgan Hill. For that outlet, that wouldn't be horrible. We did see, what did we see on north of Morgan Hill on that corner? What we saw something, there was a petitioner here at one point in time to do something with that, correct? The area just north of Morgan Hill off of Veterans, it'd be the northeast corner of Veterans and 31.
the apartment deal.
Was that apartments? I just couldn't remember what the use was.
Yeah, the one that Scott Dixon had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was apartments.
Okay. That could be a mixed-use development as well, because they're adjacent to the condominiums and townhomes and does have
Right.
retail access at that point. So that could be something that could be used for that as well. I don't know what that's currently zoned.
Right now, right now it's on BP and C5, I believe.
Okay. So there's C5 on that street side.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And business park for the rest?
Yes. Yep.
Got it. I don't have any more questions, Doug. I'm done bothering you with it.
Okay, excellent. No
Anyone else
bother.
have any questions, concerns? On at least the map?
No.
No.
So my goal, you don't even have to make a motion, you know, and what I'll do is my goal is kind of to put everything together and bring you guys one map. And then I'll bring back the ordinances, you know, so everyone, because 4 people are missing, you know.
For sure. So I had a question on
Yeah.
on the mixed use. Doug, this one has a gross floor area, so maybe it's the ag one that I have the question on. I think on the lot sizes, we have a minimum lot area of none for this ag district. Do we wanna leave that as a 0? Or do we want to have some kind of, I just look at an agricultural zoning and say, okay, what am I gonna allow use to be that's gonna be less than an acre of land?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see your point, and I could go with one. The reason I put no minimum lot area is because I just, I didn't want to get caught in a catch-22 with having something that's a non-minimum, but it fits an ag. But you could always get a variance.
I don't wanna limit us being able to use it or also forcing someone else to come back. I just wanna make sure we have a conversation about, does there need to be a minimum on that ag?
I think I probably, in thinking about it, agree with you more than myself. I know that makes sense. Because especially with ag, I just don't know what the minimum should be, 1 acre, 5 acres?
Well, I think, I mean, I don't have an issue with it being an acre or even 2 acres, and then using that minimum lot width as well as up to 2 acres. If we start with a minimum floor at an acre, I just think the thing is, if I look at what the township assessor is gonna look at and a taxing body going to look at an ag lot, they're gonna have some requirements for what they're doing on that lot. Is it forestry? Do we actually have livestock? What are we gonna do with it? And in that realm, I just feel like we probably need some kind of a minimum.
If we could either go with the acre, or I could change up to 2 acres to 2 acres and make it 2 acres.
I don't know, an acre for me, I don't really have an issue with an acre lot. I mean, if we're truly using, let's say somebody owns a parcel and they have the adjacent parcel that they also own that currently doesn't have any improvement to it, and they wanna forest that property and use that agricultural status to do that, I mean, that makes sense in a 1 acre minimum. Someone might have an extra acre lot that they bought in an area that they wanna do that with. So I don't know that 2 is really, I think 2 might be a little much.
Okay.
But I think if somebody comes to me with a 1/4 of an acre lot and they wanna do something with it,
Yeah, it might not make sense.
it might not make as much sense. I think if we go with that, if A1's gonna be an acre, and then if that person wants to come for a variance, we can make a baseline decision on something less than an acre.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Is everyone all right with that?
Yeah, there should
Yeah.
be something.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
An acre, we'll change to an acre. I think that's probably a good change.
Again, I don't wanna make it too restrictive, but I also feel like if somebody's gonna come for a variance, I would rather it be, they wanna use less than an acre. I can't imagine the township's gonna allow a taxing entity on 1 acre of land to
I
be
know.
ag. They're already not gonna be drawing a lot of tax from
Yeah.
it, so. The mixed use though, everything else looks super good, Doug. These are great. This is, I like the mixed use with what I read for the minimum square footages, the building height requirements. I think all of this makes sense. I like the fact that the setback, because this is going to be based for a lot of downtown or historic district building, that we can get around some of the rear yard setbacks because of the way those lots are laid out. It definitely helps us not have to deal with some of those concerns that come to this panel when we're in that downtown marketplace. So I think that will definitely help. And again, I think we have properties that could be in this realm as they continue to do things and turn properties over on Richmond Road north of 31. You know, this is a prime opportunity for some of those to turn into more of this type of building.
Yeah, and I'll say one other thing, I don't know if I included it in here, we talked about the historic areas, and we didn't include that in this, did we, Dorothy?
No.
Okay, so we have, the Landmark Commission's kind of put together a template, kind of, I don't know when they did it, but they did it for Main Street, and maybe I'll include it next time. It's perfect. It's for Main, Waukegan, and it shows a boundary of where it applies, and then it has just guidelines. So it kind of, and then it has pictures of houses. So it's not a historic district, but it shows kind of the
Architectural
style, yes.
Perfect.
So I was gonna talk to Pat Wertz and say maybe you could replicate this for Riverside Drive and Green Street as far as what area you think applies, and then we'll just do that for those two areas, and that will be our kind of thing that we include with the plan.
So if someone were to build in those areas, as we talked about before, if someone were to build in those areas a new construction building, we could almost hand them that template and
Yep.
say, this is the architectural style that fits with this area, and this is what we'd really like to see
Yep.
coming forward.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. So you're going to have Chad implement the rest of the revisions we talked about tonight, and then present us when we have a full staff. We'll present one final map before we actually motion to move this forward to city council.
Well, we have to have a public hearing,
Right.
so,
And then it'll go to council.
yeah, we'll
Got it.
try to, you know, we'll put it in the paper and we'll try to advertise it a little bit.
How are we gonna
Does
present
the-
this to the public?
Yeah, does that show like all the changes and stuff to the public, or,
It'll just be the new map.
oh, it won't show like what we,
We can show both, I mean, we could have the old.
Well, the old and the new, yeah. But I mean, I don't know if I'd wanna show 17 maps worth of
No.
all of the things that,
No.
each time we've broken the
No,
map
no,
into
I'm
pieces.
saying, like,
But yeah,
this
we can do old
moves.
and new.
okay,
Are we gonna have just like a large board and, you know,
yeah.
point to the board? If we're gonna do that, can we put that outside City Hall somewhere for like a month and let people come look at it? And so when they
Show
come, they
display
have
the
questions or something?
Yeah.
Put it on an easel or something
Yeah.
so people can come peruse and.
Or they can
It-
just
it'll
stop by
speed up the
Doug's
meeting If
office.
we have it too,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah,
gives people a
right?
chance to understand it.
Alright, that's great.
Yeah, I hear you, and then maybe I could also have it displayed at the library.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. At the library would be ideal.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Jim
Sure.
wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't mind, he's always been very cooperative.
Oh, for
you
sure.
can Put it in a couple places too. that
Here,
Yeah.
people
the
want.
library.
So,
But between here and the library, that gives people
Wow.
enough public access that,
Correct.
you know, to be able to get to it for sure.
Yes.
and once I get, I wanna, you know, I didn't wanna rush through it, but I kinda wanna get it adopted soon, so, but I like that idea,
Me
that's a
too.
good idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's good. I think we've made a lot of headway in a short amount of time on getting this up to date. I mean, we knew this was gonna take some time to get finished and take some time out of your schedule on, not that it's
Yeah.
already full enough, but to throw this back in the mix. I think once we get here, then we just need to earmark annually when we're going to review it. And we just set that aside, whether that be, you know, probably before the mayor appoints the next group, right? So that it can be done with some knowledge of what's happened over the past year.
Yeah.
So maybe we plan to do it in February, when the dockets are light anyway. You know, maybe that's something we do during that either December, January, February timeframe before all of a sudden we've got 4 things on the docket coming in front of us anyway. December might be a perfect time to do that, because then in April, the mayor appoints the next year. Then at least we've got people who've heard what's happening for the last year, making those quick review decisions.
Well, December, you get the holidays going on, people aren't thinking about that, so maybe after the new year.
January's fine. I mean, maybe that first meeting into the new year is when we just make a quick review of what's there, and then it doesn't turn into a 6-month project ever again. We just continue to do it once a year.
I think that's important that we review it every year, We don't do 11 years worth of.
Well, right, this has been much
14
more of a
years.
task. This has been much more of a task than it ever should have been, but if we continue to pick a date and we put it on the calendar, and that's what happens for P and Z all the time. Every year, this is when we review, and we're just gonna do that. We give it to everyone in December, and then everybody has that time while they're off to review it, come in with any ideas that they have on revisions and changes, and we do it in one setting.
I like it.
Good.
All right.
What a plan.
Art, any questions?
Nope.
No, all good? Jim?
Yep, all good.
Mike? Doug?
Nope, I'll bring it back and then we'll go forward.
Excellent. Next meeting, Doug, August 15th. Do you have anything on the agenda thus far?
3 things.
3, nice.
Oh, good.
We got a minor variance on, I think, over by you are, I think, Ramble. Is that Ramble?
Yep.
You live by Ramble, don't you?
Willow, but yeah.
And then,
Stone's Throw.
yeah, Stone's Throw over there. And then, the VFW, expanding.
Threefold.
I'm shocked.
They're building a new building, no, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
No, they're doing some outside seating, some indoor renovations, but we're doing the outside seating entertainment, so they're just amending their conditional use. Been working with Ben, he's been really good to work with. And then, we have a supportive living, not supportive living, skilled nursing. It's kind of a high-end skilled nursing.
Located?
Right across from Colonial Funeral Home at
Oh,
the
yeah.
northeast corner of Bull Valley and Ridgeview. So remember, they were gonna go, I don't even know if it came to this body, they were gonna go across the street by the hospital.
Right.
And then there was a bunch of wetlands, but this time they're going over here, they have to go back to the Medical Facilities Board in October, but.
Is that Sensegra's property now?
No, that's Pacini's property.
Oh, it is, okay.
So we've been working with them. It's not just for older people, it's for anybody, you know, break a hip, you get a private room. It's a really nice place. I mean, this
That'd be
is
great.
like upscale, so those 3 things. But if I can get this, at least get this map done and get it to you guys, I'll get it to you as soon as I can. Just so you can look at it and please look for mistakes and everything, 'cause I don't wanna put
Well,
something
I think once you give us this final version,
Yeah.
though, then we can really, everybody can take it home. We can run through, or if you're gonna send it, whatever, if
Yeah.
you wanna get those printed, some larger ones.
Yeah,
We can all
print.
actually peruse it before we bring it back and make
Right.
those last minute revisions on it for
With
sure.
street names on it.
Yeah.
with street.
Well, I think once it's printed big enough, they'll come through. I think they probably
I should
are there.
have told, I told Tina to print it this size, I should have told her to print it bigger.
Well, is it easier to put the whole map in like 4 smaller maps that
And
you put together if you're gonna?
No, we can print them bigger, I just didn't print them bigger. So I'll print them bigger.
Okay.
Excellent.
Sounds like a barbecue planning party at Doug's house.
You have cookies and milk in your house? too?
Excellent. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Mr. Sabota, do I have a second?
Second.
Walsh, anyone opposed? Meeting's closed.
No.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Easy peasy.
So
Thanks for coming, guys.
Dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.
Are we supposed to wear these?